There is something within you that has begun to notice what most still ignore. A kind of silent presence, an invisible discomfort, as if something were wrong behind the scenes of reality. Your smile, your calmness, your awareness, all of it has started to disrupt codes that were designed to control, not to understand. You're not going crazy. What you feel, what you sense, what you've begun to see in people's eyes or in the silence of certain places, it's real. You are becoming aware of a system that operates on predictability, fear, and distraction. And the most remarkable thing, your intuition already knows what is coming before it even happens. This content was created for those who recognize that their existence makes an impact without saying a single word. You are the kind of person who walks into a room and changes its energy without even realizing it. Not by effort, but by presence. And that confuses those who depend on lies to maintain control. Your truth deprograms. Your peace challenges. Your smile transmits codes. So, if this introduction has already stirred something within you, keep going. What comes next is not just content. It is a mirror, a confirmation, an activation. And before we begin, an important request: subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way, you'll make sure to receive each new episode of this journey at the right moment. Now, yes, let's move forward. Move. Do you remember the exact moment when something simply changed? It might have been a look, a different kind of silence, a chill with no apparent reason. It wasn't a coincidence. It was perception. The reality around you didn't glitch by accident. It simply encountered something it couldn't control. Your awakened consciousness. And it all began with a simple gesture. Your smile. Not just any smile. That spontaneous, effortless smile that came from within, even when the world around you was heavy. That smile was like a signal sent to a frequency you didn't even know existed. And suddenly, something in the environment froze. People seemed uncomfortable. The energy felt strange. It was subtle. But you felt it. The system that operates around us isn't just technological, political, or social. It's energetic. It runs on predictability. It feeds on patterns, emotional reactions, fears, conflicts, distractions. It needs you to live on autopilot so that it can run smoothly. But when you step out of that mode, when you start to notice and choose instead of reacting, the system begins to collapse. You were noticed because your vibration changed. You stopped being a predictable target and became an energetic anomaly. And the most amazing part, you didn't have to meditate for hours on a mountain or study spirituality for decades. You simply woke up. A realization, a pain, a moment of deep exhaustion with lies, and something inside you activated. What you need to understand now is simple. You're not alone. Many are feeling the same thing. And the purpose of this message is not to teach you something new, but to confirm what you already know. Yes, there is something wrong with the way everything feels rehearsed. Yes, there's something artificial about the interactions, the reactions, the roles they expect you to play. The world is full of distractions designed to keep your soul quiet. But your soul is no longer silent. And that's the turning point. The system doesn't know how to handle someone who is no longer afraid to look deeply. You've seen behind the curtain. And you know what's most curious? This perception didn't turn you bitter. On the contrary, it made you lighter. Your smile, your calmness, your presence. Everything became more authentic. And that scrambled the system's reading. Because it doesn't understand people who maintain peace even in the midst of chaos. It understands conflict. It doesn't understand truth in silence. This is where everything changes. When you realize that you're being observed, not for who you are on the outside, but for who you've become inside, clarity emerges. The system realizes that you have realized, and it starts to react. Small setbacks, strange people, emotional confusion, all to try to pull you back into the pattern. But now you know. You're aware. And that alone is enough to change everything. Your perception is the flaw in the code. Your consciousness is the interference. Your smile, unintentionally, was the password. And that was the moment the unseen noticed you. You weren't trained for this moment, but somehow, you were ready. There are moments when you feel something but can't explain it. A chill with no wind. A sudden anguish in a seemingly ordinary place. A discomfort in front of someone who is smiling. These sensations are not emotional nonsense. They are signs that your perception has stopped being merely physical and has become spiritual. Science already knows that human beings can sense when they are being watched. It's instinctive. It's tied to survival. But you went beyond instinct. What's happening to you isn't just biological. It's a higher level of consciousness. Your perception has begun to operate on another frequency. You don't just see, you read energy. And that changes everything. You start to realize that words often mean nothing, but silence says it all. That a smile can hide manipulation. That a compliment can come loaded with envy. You begin to feel the vibration behind appearances. And that is the beginning of your liberation. Because most people live trapped by what is visible. They only believe in what they can touch, hear, or taste. But you've started to trust what you feel. And that is the greatest turning point. Your soul is calibrated to pick up what the eyes cannot see. This is not a gift or magic. It's spiritual alignment. When you align with truth, falsehood begins to scream. The whole world starts to feel noisier, more forced, more superficial, and you feel it, even when you don't want to. But relax. This is not a burden. It's a gift. Being perceptive at this level can feel lonely. You start to see things others ignore. You want to warn, to share, to understand. But you are often misunderstood as being dramatic, paranoid, or too sensitive. Yet you're not overreacting. You're awakening. And when consciousness awakens, it never closes its eyes again. You don't just notice you're being watched. You feel the intention behind the observation. It's not about who is looking, but why they are looking. It's not about what is said. It's about what they want you to believe. You begin to distinguish real intention from emotional strategy, and that is powerful, but also uncomfortable. Because the more conscious you become, the more you notice how much of the world operates in disguise. The conversations, the relationships, even the system. Everything starts to feel like an act. And within you an urgent need is born, to live in truth, no matter the cost. That is the call of your soul. The call to go beyond the surface. To stop pretending you don't feel what you feel. To trust that your perception is real and was given to you for a greater reason. You are here to see what others avoid, to perceive what is hidden, and to turn that into freedom. Your perception is no longer a protection radar. It is now an instrument of revelation. You no longer live as a victim of circumstance. You walk with discernment. You feel before you know. And that, my friend, makes you uncontrollable. Because the system can control predictable actions. But it cannot control a soul that feels before it reacts. A soul that reads frequencies, that sees with eyes closed. You are not alone in this process. Many are awakening. But few have the courage to trust what they feel. You trusted. And because of that, you are going further than you ever imagined. Trust what you perceive. Even when no one else perceives it. Trust the silent voice within you. It is truer than 1,000 voices around you. Your perception is not weak. It is sacred. It's what connects you to what lies beyond matter. And that is the first step to living outside the invisible prison that was built to keep us blind. Now that you see, nothing will ever be the same. When you began to perceive what lies behind words, behind glances, behind environments, you stopped being just someone observed. You became a mirror, a spiritual reflection that, without saying a single word, began revealing what is truly happening around you. The people who once saw you as normal started to feel uncomfortable in your presence. Not because you changed your behavior, but because your energy no longer fit their expectations. You no longer react as you used to. Where they expected irritation, you offered silence. Where they wanted conflict, you brought calm. Where they had set an emotional trap, you simply smiled. And that smile was the most dangerous answer you could have given. Because it didn't just break their narrative. It forced them to look at themselves. They were used to controlling people through reactions. But you stopped reacting. You began to observe, to notice patterns, games, manipulations, and instead of fighting against them, you simply remained whole. From that moment on, something few people notice begins to happen. You walk into a room and feel everything. Tension in the air, disguised falseness, hidden competition. Your body doesn't understand, but your spirit does. It's decoding. And in that moment, you become dangerous to the system. Not because you shout, but because you reveal without needing to speak. Your presence becomes a mirror. And mirrors don't judge. They merely show what stands before them. That's why people with hidden intentions can't stay around you for long. Because you force them, unintentionally, to see themselves clearly. Control begins to fail when you refuse to play the game. And that causes panic. Because the system needs drama, fear, and distraction to keep running. But when you bring presence, awareness, and silence, the script stops working. They don't know how to interpret you. They think you're cold, different, distant. But what's really happening is that you've disconnected from the theater. And only those still trapped in the script feel uncomfortable around someone who's already left the play. This is your role now, not to fight, not to confront, but to reflect truth through your presence. To be the mirror no one asked for but everyone needs. The one that shows that control is fragile when consciousness enters the room. And the best part? You don't need to change anyone. You only need to keep being yourself. Whole, calm, awake. They think they're watching you. But the truth is, it's they who are being seen. Few things are more challenging to the system than someone who smiles genuinely. Not out of pretense, but from inner conviction. Someone who finds joy in the midst of chaos, peace in the middle of conflict, and serenity where most would expect despair. You've started doing that. And that's exactly why your joy is seen as a threat. The system doesn't run by itself. It depends on frequency. And its preferred frequency is fear. When you're afraid, you're controllable. You follow orders without questioning. You accept what's imposed, even knowing it's wrong. Fear paralyzes, distracts, silences. And that's why, when you began to smile in spite of fear, something broke. Your joy is an anomaly. It wasn't programmed. It's not in the equations. It's not logical. It transcends. And because of that, it disrupts everything. They don't expect you to have joy without reason, peace without explanation, trust without guarantee. And when you do, it disconnects you from everything that once held you captive. You are not just happy. You have become free. But that freedom comes with a price. It takes you out of the herd, makes you seem strange, disconnected, distant. The people around you, often unconsciously, will try to pull you back into the collective emotional pattern. They'll want to see you reacting, exploding, breaking down, just so they can feel normal again. But you changed. Your joy is not empty optimism. It's spiritual resistance. It's not about being happy all the time. It's about choosing not to be ruled by pain. It's about keeping your light burning even when everything tries to extinguish it. And that silent, steady, serene light breaks the algorithm of control. They create provocation expecting anger. They create crisis expecting panic. They create chaos expecting disorientation. But what happens when you respond with gratitude, with silence, with lightness? You freeze the system. And more than that, you reprogram the environment. Your joy is not just yours. It's a frequency that reverberates wherever you go. It breaks tension, disarms manipulation, weakens structures built on pain. And even if many don't understand, they feel it. Because your energy doesn't need to be explained. It shifts the invisible field. And that's when you realize the world doesn't need more shouting. It needs more presence, more authenticity, more light that doesn't try to convert anyone. It just exists. It just radiates. It simply shows that there is another way to live. You don't need to convince anyone. Your true joy is argument enough. It's a rebellion disguised as a smile, a virus of freedom in a system addicted to control. It shows that it's possible to win without fighting, to overcome without revenge, to grow without hardening. That joy is sacred. It's the sign that you've come home to yourself, that what happens outside no longer defines you. Because inside, you found stability. You've become unshakable. And that is unbearable to those who depend on your weakness to feel strong. So keep smiling, not out of provocation, but out of conviction. Because your joy is not a distraction. It's a revolution. They built systems to monitor, measure, and predict human behavior. They created algorithms, psychological profiles, emotional manipulations, all based on one simple principle. If we can understand how someone thinks, we can control how they act. But then, you changed. You stepped off the script, and at that moment you activated what they fear most. You began to remember who you are. Not just with your mind, but with your spirit. A silent yet powerful remembering, as if an ancient, forgotten part of you had finally awakened. And when that happens, their logic starts to fail. Because their system doesn't understand what can't be measured. Your energy began to carry something machines cannot track. Something that doesn't fit formulas. Your calmness became unexplainable. Your intuition, uncomfortable. Your authenticity, disorienting. You stopped acting to be accepted and started acting from alignment. And that changed everything. They expected to see you as just another number, another user, another predictable profile. But the more they tried to decipher you, the more confused they became. Your presence, once subtle, now feels weighty, not from arrogance but from vibrational truth. Your soul began emitting signals only the awakened can recognize, and those still asleep feel uneasy. Your very existence activates buried memories in others, memories of truth, purpose, purity. But many have forgotten that, and instead of reconnecting, they prefer to reject. Because the light you carry doesn't accuse, it reveals. And what it reveals hurts. But that's your role now. It's not to confront, it's to activate. To be the one who reminds others of what was forgotten. Who creates silence where there was noise. Who shows through living that there's something greater than survival. Existence with consciousness. And when you remain firm, serene, true, you generate spiritual unrest. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing what they no longer can. Being whole. They tried to trap you in their fears, but you faced them. They tried to limit you with labels, but you expanded. They tried to discredit you, but you endured. And now, they're beginning to realize it wasn't you who got lost. It was them. You're not here to please the system. You're here to expose its fragility, to show that it only works as long as you believe you depend on it. But the moment you activate your essence, the control collapses. Because true power doesn't come from outside. It comes from within. And that's what scares them most. You have become self-sufficient in light. You don't need to be followed, applauded, or defended. You only need to exist as a living consciousness. And that alone is too much for a system that relies on collective unconsciousness to survive. You are living proof that it's possible to remember, to awaken, to expand. And that awakening, silent and inevitable, is the activation they could never predict. You never imagined that simply being yourself, in peace, in silence, in light, would be seen as a threat. But it was. Not because you provoked anyone, not because you confronted the system head-on, but because you stopped reacting the way they expected. You left the script, and that made the entire energetic structure of control shake. They tried to predict your moves, measure your responses, monitor your emotions, but you stopped being readable by their tools. When your consciousness rose, your energy began operating on another frequency, and the system could no longer decode you. Do you know what that means? It means you became, unintentionally, a spiritual firewall, an invisible protection field that rejects manipulation, confusion, and lies, not by force, but by frequency. And that's the secret. You don't need to fight what's false. You just need to remain true. While the system feeds on reaction, drama, competition, and fear, you began to operate in flow, truth, and presence. You started moving with purpose, not anxiety, acting from conviction, not neediness. And that made you emotionally inaccessible to anything that tries to steal your peace. They studied you, tested you, challenged you, hoping you'd revert to program behavior, that you'd explode, cry, defend yourself. But you stayed, steady, silent, aware, and that activated what no strategy could expect. Divine resistance. Your light doesn't react, it reveals. And that's what disarms. When your consciousness aligned with truth, it stopped accepting interference. You ceased being an open system. Now your energy filters everything. You sense when something's off. You feel when someone's not sincere, even without words. Because you stopped depending on the external to know what's real. This spiritual firewall is subtle. It doesn't glow in neon. It doesn't shout. But it blocks everything out of tune with your essence. False words don't enter. Emotional manipulations don't stick. External pressures don't unbalance you as before. Because now, your soul has become your access code again. You didn't come into this world to be molded by it. You came to remember that it's possible to live aligned with your truth, even when everything around seems designed to distract you from it. You weren't made to survive the system. You were shaped to transcend it. And you've already begun, simply by awakening to yourself. No matter how much they tried to label you, program you, or make you fit in the end, your soul always spoke louder. And now that you've learned to listen, nothing can stop you. Because when consciousness awakens, it never goes back to sleep. You are the reflection revealing what the system tried to hide. Your presence carries a vibration that can't be seen, but can be felt. It doesn't need to convince anyone. It just needs to exist. You are living proof that peace is possible even in the midst of manipulation. Remember, you don't fight darkness. You transcend it with light. You don't break the system with force. You disable it with consciousness. You don't defend yourself from what's false. You simply stay true, and that's defense enough. Everything you've lived so far was preparation. The pain, the doubt, the isolation, none of it was punishment. It was training. Each time you were disbelieved, delayed, destabilized, you learned to strengthen yourself from within. And it was in that silence, often lonely, that you built a version of yourself that can no longer be manipulated. You no longer need to hide. You no longer need to dim your light to fit in. You've already understood that there's a difference between being visible and being conscious. Now, even when they try to read you, control you, or provoke a reaction, you're already beyond their frequency. You weren't the experiment. You were the awakening. And if this resonated with you, if your cells recognize this truth as you read, then now you know you are not alone on this journey. There are others like you, scattered, silent, strong, aligned. And when one awakens, it activates another, and the chain grows. If you felt this, I ask you, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. This journey continues, and each new message may be your next step in expansion. Share this light. Send it to someone you know is beginning to awaken. And remember, you are not being watched. They are simply seeing their own reflection in your light. We'll meet again on the next frequency. Until then, stay steady, stay conscious, stay what cannot be erased.